Welcome to the Profile Corner. In the Surface 4 side video that I shot back in February, we had a little bit of an issue with some metal that was embedded into a board. This is part of the board here, and there was some metal that was showing up right here. The board was originally about 8 inches wide, and when the carbide tip blades in the planer struck that spot, it ended up leaving a chip in all three of the blades in the planer. I've shifted two of those blades about 1/4 of an inch in opposite directions. It still produces a little bit of a line in the boards that are planed, but it's not nearly as bad as it was originally. I'd like to avoid this particular problem in the future. I have some more black walnut boards here in front of me that need to be surfaced on all four sides, and I prefer not to hit any embedded metal in those boards. So in February, I picked up a metal detector that's designed for being used for security purposes. This is made in the United States, a Garrett Super Scanner V. It sells for about $180 on Amazon, and some of the reviews indicated that it was being used in sawmills to detect metal embedded into logs before those logs are cut. So I thought that this would be a perfect tool for me to buy to scan the boards that I've got sitting here to make sure that there's no metal embedded into them. So when I got this in February, I set up a little test, and this unit completely failed the test. I'll insert some video clips that I shot back in February to show what I tried to do to this to make it work. I am testing a Garrett metal detector to see if it will pick up any embedded metal in wood, and out of the box it does not seem to be very sensitive. If I test it on a staple that's embedded in a piece of cardboard, it'll sometimes pick it up and other times not. I have in this board, in the circled area, one leg of the staple, and so far it's struggling to pick that up, and it only just started picking it up now, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that. If I were to put a wrench underneath the board, it's able to see that wrench. Of course, you probably won't find a wrench embedded in a piece of wood before you run it over a jointer and through the planer. But if there ever were a wrench embedded into a piece of wood, this would be able to pick it up. There's supposed to be a way that you can adjust the sensitivity of this. I have not tried doing that yet, but I need to do something because it needs to be able to pick up staples and also other metal objects in the wood before I joint it and plane it, so that I don't have another incident where a carbide tip blade gets chipped or one of my steel blades in the jointer gets damaged. And it does occasionally pick up the staple, but I need it to be much more sensitive than that. Underneath the handle grip, there's a small hole, and if you stick a very small Phillips screwdriver into there, you may be able to turn it clockwise to make the unit more sensitive. It appears as though it finally worked. I had to try about 10 different times to get the screwdriver to engage. Here's the board that has the small staple in it, in the circled area. It's picking that up now somewhat reliably, and I don't have to have it right on top of the board. I've got it about 3/4 of an inch away. If I put it right on top of the board, and now it's lighting up solid. So that's working perfectly in my opinion, and it should be able to pick up this staple that I've got in the piece of cardboard also. And it looks like it's doing that pretty well. And now we're back up here. You do have to keep it moving in order for it to detect, I believe. Let me see if I can move it slower. And it seems to be better at detecting if you move it fast. Here's something surprising. I put the piece of cardboard with a staple in it underneath this 3/4 inch thick board. It is able to pick up the staple that's in that piece of cardboard. Apparently not as reliably as I thought, but it does see it. So that's good. It doesn't have to be right on the surface. Okay, after quite a bit of testing back in February, I was able to sink a staple into this board, and then I cut the staple off at the surface, leaving only one leg of the staple embedded into the wood, and it seemed to be detecting that little bit of metal in the wood fairly easily. However, as it warmed up in the shop, just simply swinging this around, it would set off the metal detection alert on this unit simply by moving it around, not even near my watch, which obviously it'll detect, but just simply moving it around. And so I had a lot of difficulty using this to detect metal in the boards. And what I did back in February was to stick a very small, roughly 1/8 inch wide flat blade screwdriver down into this little hole right here, and I cranked up the sensitivity, I believe by turning it clockwise, and I must have turned it up a little bit too far, and so it was detecting things that didn't actually exist. And so it was very hard for me to use this to actually test the boards. I've since then gone back into it and tried to tweak it a little bit further, and it was quite difficult to get that screw to turn. It looks like it's a Phillips head screwdriver head on the screw, but unfortunately my Phillips screwdrivers would not engage into it. So I did finally get it so that it's no longer detecting the air, which is nice. And the problem that I've got now is that I tried to scan this board that originally had the metal in it, and it's not picking up anything in it. Hopefully there's no more metal in that board. Okay, so with the change that I've made to it, it does not reliably pick up the staple that's in the board that I've got right here in the circled area. As you can see, I can pass this right over the top and it completely misses it on both sides. Okay, so what I did then to see if it actually is going to be sensitive is I put a little brad. This is roughly 3/4 of an inch long, and it's rather small, into the board in this spot, drove it straight down. Let's see if it'll pick that up. Okay, so it is alerting on that brad. If I had that brad laying underneath the board, it was not picking it up at all. So this is a very positive sign that it is alerting on that particular nail that I've got right there. So what I'm going to do now is to go through. I've got roughly 8 boards here in front of me that I'm planning on surfacing on all 4 sides to make this into usable black walnut lumber. So I'll use this, and if I find any boards where this is detecting metal, then I'll bring the camera back and we'll take a closer look. Okay, it looks like we found a spot right there, potentially that has metal, and I do see a little bit of an indentation there. Let's check the other side. Somewhere around in this general area, it's picking up something, and I'm assuming that it may be up here, but I don't know for certain where it's at. On the other side, it alerted, I believe, right up in this area here. Okay, so it's got to be somewhere probably through here. Unfortunately, it doesn't help to pinpoint it real well. There is a button that I can push on the side, but that may not actually help us. I'll try pushing the button. Okay, now it no longer picks it up. Okay, so there's something in this area here. Let's check the rest of it. Okay, and we'll go on to the next board. And nothing there. Okay, so we only found possibly one piece of metal. That one piece of metal, it could do quite a bit of damage to the carbide tip planer blades. Those planer blades are over $200 to replace. I do have a replacement set, but I have not installed those yet. So at $180, this might be a good deal if you're able to get it properly tuned to actually pick up metal that's in the wood. And I've struggled with that a bit. Let's see. I've got this small brad again. The brad is almost 3/4 of an inch long. Let's see if it'll pick it up underneath the board. I'll put it down, and it's not able to see that. Okay, so checking the board from both sides is a good idea. I have a larger nail here. It's maybe 1.25 inches long. Let's see if it'll pick up this underneath the board. Okay, it's not picking it up now. At least not reliably. So you may hit it. You got to keep this moving, otherwise it may not detect anything. which will make it a little bit difficult to get it tuned up to find exactly what's there. Now, I found in my previous auction winnings a little Wizard 2 that may help to pinpoint exactly where that piece of metal is at. I can run this along, and it's not picking up anything in there. And right now it's not picking up anything here. And just before I switched on the camera, it was picking up the piece of metal right where I circled it here. Apparently the on-off switch here is not a true on-off switch, it's actually a variable switch. I had actually turned it all the way to the on position and it wasn't picking up anything. And now it is signaling that there's something in this area here. I definitely wouldn't want to use this little device on these boards without the assistance of the larger wand, because this could easily miss something, especially if you turn the switch to the on position too far. Okay, so I've confirmed that the bad spot with the metal in it is in fact right here. More of the area chiseled out around where the nail is at. I don't know if these vice grips will have a strong enough tip to be able to actually pull it out. Now they're not locking down. Not locking down tightly enough. Now I'll have to get a traditional pair of vice grips and try it again. Okay, I've just started using this pair of channel lock needle nose pliers, and it looks like I'm having some success in pulling the nail out. So there it is right there. That would more than likely do some damage to both the jointer blades and also the planer blades if that was still in the board. I don't know if we have any other ones like that in the boards. I may have to go back through and double check because it's an awfully small nail to be picked up. I'll have to go back through the boards and double check because that is an awfully small nail for this metal detector to be able to pick up based on my earlier testing. I'm really surprised that it caught that nail and very happy that it did. Hey, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.